Okay, at this point we have our GameLift plugin installed. We've converted our engine already, our project, to a different source engine, 421, and we're going to go ahead and do all the blueprints and everything that makes it work. I have a suspicion that we're going to have to do some recompiling, but we'll get there if it happens. So let's go ahead and start by making a new folder under content, and we'll call it, actually, let's put this under blueprints, because that's really what we're going to be working in. Do new folder, call it GameLift. And you could say GameLift BPs, whatever. So we're going to need to have what's called a game instance. So I'm going to constantly, throughout this tutorial, be referring to another screen. It may get a little annoying, but that's just how it is. I really am unfamiliar with GameLift right now, but I wanted to get this out to you in a kind of a user-friendly, somewhat tutorial. That way you could use it, but you're going to have to forgive me. It's going to be a little rough around the edges. So anyway, we got our GameLift BPs folder, and let's do a new blueprint class, and I think we gotta do the drop down and say game instance. Okay, and select, and we'll just name it Mark Game Instance. Okay, so you're probably wondering, well, what the heck is a game instance? It is a blueprint, a class that persists no matter what. So your level might end, things might change around, but there's always something running in the background. That's your game instance. I can get into more details later on, but just know it's kind of like the boss of all the blueprints. It's always there, and it kind of handles the code that needs to be there when you're transitioning between all the levels. All right, so it's the base layer, and everything else kind of trickles down and layers after that. Like you have your game mode, you have there's many of them, and I know I'm skipping as I go through, but all the way down to, like, say, your character, which is, when it dies, well, what persists after that? Well, maybe your level blueprint does. Well, what persists after your level blueprint? Well, maybe your game instance, right? So there's lots of things you have to consider, and there's other little nuances in there, and we'll get into them. But just know this is kind of the boss. So let's go ahead and double click into this. Let me save it real quick. And you know what's going to happen? I'm going to forget that I even made this, or I'm going to forget to set it. So let's just do that right now. Let's go into our project settings, go into game instance, and just change it from game instance, which is a generic one, to Mark Game Instance. That way we don't have to worry about it, because that'll be something that would drive you crazy, right? Trying to figure out what is going on. Well, I forgot to set your game instance. So double click on this, and what's going to go here? So just a lot of this stuff I vaguely know. So just type event shutdown. Okay, and this event is going to fire every time there's a shutdown call. I don't know all the details. That's just what we're doing. Go down to branch. Okay, and what do we want to determine here? Like, when does this matter? It's only going to matter if if is server. Okay. Okay, so if is server, so only if you're the server is what's going to happen, going to matter. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to call a GameLift destroy. So I'm going to right click and type destroy. Okay, and to make sure you get the one that's under GameLift server. Destroy. So if you are the server, go ahead and destroy. So whenever event shutdown gets called, you're going to destroy. And sometimes there's like little notes under here, but oh, cool, new subscriber. Always like that. Whenever you do this, and I had it set up so I ran another event in here, and we'll get into this, it basically will shut down that whole server instance. Like I said, this is the boss of everything. When this goes down, everything goes down. So it's kind of a interesting way to shut everything down. So if this fails, though, you're going to want to know about it. So right click, print string, So if this is false, make sure I have this set up right. No, I'm sorry. Another branch. So it's going to go through here, okay, and it's going to ask this question. Was there success? Yes or no? Okay. If it wasn't successful, you're going to want to know about it, okay? And it'll send you this error message right into your print string, okay? So you'll know, oh, whatever. And then if it destroys, well, you're not going to really know, but you destroy, okay? I mean, I don't see under what circumstances you would see this, but if we do see it, we should kind of wonder what's going on. So compile, save all. So I'm going to look back. I'm going to reference everything. So if you are the server, you're going to destroy. And if it's true, you're going to print this string. If it's false, you're going to print that string. Okay? So I'm going to back out. That's pretty much it for the game instance. Okay. Let's go. I know there was 2 GameLift class. So let me go over to my event graph if I ever figure it out. Okay, and there's one called a process parameter blueprint. So I'm going to right click, go to blueprint class, type in here, and go not even close. Process parameters. I've never used this blueprint, so I'm assuming this is something from the plugin. Maybe not. Never used it before. So we'll go into it. Okay, select, and we're going to call it mark process parameter. Okay, save that. Double click on it, and then we're in. I'm doing the same over here on this screen. Okay, so all of the events in here are overridable, so that means they're already made in here and that we can call them because they've already pretty much been made. And what they're exactly doing, I can't tell you. So we're going to go ahead and just fire them up. So click on here and say event, let's see, update game session. All right, let's do the other one, start game session. And let's do the other one, process terminate. Okay, and there's one more in there, but it's a function, not an event. So we're going to hold off just a second. Don't let me forget. So these obviously have, I mean, you can read them and they make sense when you read them. So I can only tell you that that's what they do. But there's going to be one thing we got to do to each one of these. And we have to add a call to a parent function. So I'm merely speculating here, okay? But in C++, whenever you have a class that's overridable, so like, I'm trying to think of like a good example, like event begin play, and you want to override in the child blueprint event begin play. You can do that, which means the child now overrides what the parent blueprint or the parent class said about event begin play, what happens at the beginning of play. But if you make a call to the parent and you call it the parent and the child, if I'm saying this right, I'm probably saying it wrong, then you still retain all of the actions within the parent's event begin play in addition to whatever you add. So that's what I'm getting here. So from my understanding, if I could be wrong, okay, but I'm guessing what's going on here is he's making sure that the parent gets called in addition to what's being called here on the blueprint. And so you could theoretically add to this, maybe, I don't know, and it should still call the parent, I guess. I don't know. I've never really done it like this in blueprints. I've done it in C++, but not in blueprints. So all speculation could be completely wrong. And I don't know why I would do that in public like this, but whatever. You got to think out loud sometimes. Events. Let's see. Add parent. Add call to parent function. Okay. Okay, does that look the same as over here? Yes, it does. And for the function override, gonna go to health check. And then, what did he do? I don't even remember. Oh, he did the same thing. He added a call to the parent function, brought it in like this. Bada bing, bada boom. And something else, I know for a fact this health check is something that the GameLift servers require to make sure that your server's up, and it's a good thing to have, actually. It stops you from just running unhealthy servers, instances of your game that don't need to be running. At least that's what it appears to be to me. And it's one of the main things we got to check, so I hope that's good. Okay. So that is, I'm just looking over here. That looks like that's pretty much it for the classes on purely GameLift. Let's go to our blueprints here, and let's go into our game mode. And so how game modes work is each level can decide its own game mode. So like your entry map can have a different game mode than your test map, and you can think of maps like levels. They could have their own game modes. So that's kind of where our game mode sits. And if you look at the world settings here, you can see where each world, each level in your world, you can override the game mode. Okay, so right now, since this was the game mode we were given, because we had a blueprint only class, this is how your game mode will appear. Now, if you had a C++ only project, you would have to go into blueprints and go into your game mode. And then the game mode in C++ classes will actually maintain the name of the project. So you'll see the name of the project, and that's the game mode you would call, and it will make a blueprint, because in C++ projects, I don't think they give you a blueprint game mode. You have to make it. So we had that, so here's our game mode. So let me bring that up. Third person game mode. Okay, and so first thing we're gonna do, event begin play. All right, and just like the other ones, we're gonna go ahead and add a call to the parent function, just like that. And then we want to know is server. Okay, great. Do a branch. Okay. So if we are the server, we're the game mode, then we're going to do another GameLift function. This is unique. So init, init, SDK. It's what we called, I think, in one of the other videos. Make sure it has GameLift server above it. And if you are the server, you're going to init the SDK. All right. You're going to do a branch after that. All right. And if that branch fails, you want to print a string. Because when it does fail, it will print out an error message, and you can use that to try to figure out what the heck is going on. Very helpful, and I think we're going to need it. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and do construct object from class. Okay, get a reference to yourself. Put that in outer here. I'll explain this in just a moment. True here. Okay, and then do the drop down, do process parameter. We're going to look for mark process parameter. Okay, so what the heck is this? All right, so this is pretty cool. This actually was how you would like call a class in old school like C++. It's just calling the class like into existence. It's calling that blueprint we made, that process parameter. It's making it actually a thing. So it and when it's a thing, and not just, remember how we talked about cookie cutters and cookies. Well, it goes from being a cookie cutter, a plan to make something, a blueprint, right? So to speak, just vaguely the term blueprint. It turns it from a blueprint to an actual house or an actual cookie or an actual thing. And so that's what's happening here. It's making our process parameters an actual thing that we can take action on. It's made it somewhere, but you can't see it. You don't need to see it like you would like a character or whatever. So this is how you can bring it into the world. I didn't know what it was at first, so that's what I found out. On to the next thing. So get server IP address. Okay. And then from our thing, we should be able to draw out here and say port. And we are going to set our port. Okay. And if you hear me leaving out any gaps, one of two things. If I'm not explaining something, it's either A, I don't know, or B, I forgot. And a lot of this is I don't know all the details. Like, I obviously know what getting an IP is. I know we're setting a port here. I believe it has to do with how we get things initialized, but I don't know all the nitty-gritty details like I normally do. It doesn't make me comfortable. Eventually I will. But that's just the truth of things. So process ready. Okay, you're going to run it into there like that. If you want, you can keep things nice and organized. Okay. Then we're going to go ahead and run a branch right off of here just like this. Okay, and like always on how he has things set up here, he's got a nice little error message that you can put into a print string so we know what the heck happened. Compile, save all. Now, that should be good. Okay, so let me back up a second. When we were talking about game modes, let's look at third-person game modes are default game mode. Depending on your see, ours defaults here. Yours may not, especially if you had a C++ class, and you need to come in here and set it so that it is. Okay, and that way this will get called, and it's only going to happen on the server. So you could put it on all the levels. I think you're only going to need it on the test level technically. So you could, if let's say you're doing a C++ project, you could come up, and I forget where it's at. It's one of these drop downs. Where did he do it? I watched him do it. Yeah, I didn't even know about this until I watched the creator of this plugin. He can override his game mode from right here, and I think he did it on the actual level that has stuff in it. And the reason he did it that way was when you log in, you come to this level, which is the entry map. There's nothing here, right, except for some code that we're about to put in. That'll start a level if there's none, or it'll teleport you to a level. The server, he starts off on the map. Okay, he's already there. That's his world. He doesn't know anything about this world. And so over there, when he's in that world, he needs something to start up this game mode script, or this game mode. He needs to have the game mode. So when his level starts, this code begins, and it'll go, oh, are you the server, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, you're only going to have the one server running, so I don't, at this point, see the problem in just having it set as the default game mode. That may change, because you may want to have totally different settings in like the first person, when you first sign on, you're not automatically on the server. You're on you're on this entry map, and so you might want to have different settings in your game mode, and then you would override that game mode. You could do something like that. But just to kind of give you an idea of how this game mode gets called, it gets called based off of two things: either how it's set in the default project settings, or if it's overridden in the world settings. You could come over here and override it, or how we were just doing it over here, you could override it. And I believe that's the same as overriding it over here. Just some things to think about. And it was new to me, so it might be new to somebody else. So let's go ahead. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but live and learn. Let's go ahead, and since let's verify that we are in the entry map. We set it up, so we have our entry map. That's where we're at. We're going to do some code in the entry map, but not code, blueprint code. So let's go into blueprints, open level blueprint. Okay, so here's our old stuff where we'd have a widget and we could enter our IP, and that would get us to a specific IP address. We're going to be doing a lot more than that. So let's break our link off our event begin play, because you can only have one event begin play. You don't want to have more than that. And let's get a nice empty spot out here. Okay, here is the area we are most prone to make a mistake. Lots of stuff that could go wrong here. So this is like a minefield. We'll just go through it one chunk of hell at a time. So let's create GameLift object. Okay, and this makes sense. We have to have something to control the GameLift with, and that's what this is going to create. And we are going to drag off of here and say make AWS credentials. Now what's going to go in here is your access key and your secret key. Let me back up just a second before we get too much farther down this road. So we're going to have this entry level map blueprint is going to have two different settings. One setting is going to be for testing, and one is going to be for actual, like, for the server. Testing is different. We have to simulate connecting to that server and we're going to use the GameLiftLocal. So we have to set things up differently. So eventually this code will be erased, but we need to test it before we upload it. So things aren't going to make exactly a lot of sense how we're setting them up now. Just keep in mind it's for testing. Okay. So the key ID and the secret key, if you remember, you got those in the first video when we were setting up our first GameLift video when we were setting these up. You're going to take these from that CSV file you downloaded. You're going to get your access key, put it here, okay, and then get your secret access key, which I'm doing on another screen, just grabbing it right here, secret access key, copy it, make sure you got it all. And paste it. Bada bing. And then you'll probably need that later, so let's minimize that. Then you're going to make AWS client configuration. So let's do that. Make AWS client configuration. Great. Okay, so remember in the earlier, okay, first off, let's fix this problem. When you're testing, you want to be in HTTP, not HTTPS. That would require a secure socket, and when we're testing locally, we don't have that, so it would have an issue. So we need to go ahead and make that there. You can look that up if you want to know more about the difference between HTTP and HTTPS. Anyway, not really Unreal specific. So your region, remember how when you log into GameLift, if you look up your URL, it's going to tell you what you are, and mine was US East 2. Yours could be something different. Go ahead and change it to whatever it is. We're just going to keep things very basic for right now. So 25, 3000. We're going to leave all this the stuff. Now, okay, here's one of these testing sort of things. We need to override the endpoint where we're going, and we're going to be going to our own computer to test this. So let's drag off of here and say append. Okay, and we're going to add a pin. All right, and in here, it's hard to see. You're going to put a colon. All right, and you're going to put port 8080 right here. All right, and what goes here is your IP address. So you have your IP address, colon, and then your port. So append is pretty neat. So you can use this like for anything, right? Any sort of text. And basically, if you had like I remember one time I did one where it had like username and then password and like a combined string, and it would check and it would say, okay, are these combined? Anyway, basically you can combine things. So it combines things. If they come in maybe separately, you can put them together and have one string, if that makes sense. So you'd have your IP address, colon, and your port. That's all this is doing. It's a very generic function, but it's very powerful. So how do you get your IP address? You don't need your actual IP address. You need your local IP address, which is something you can look up more into, and I suggest you do if you don't know the difference. But how you get it is go into your search bar, and you can't see it, but bring up command prompt. What I did is if you go into, you might be able to do it from here. Can you do it from here? Oh, God. Let's stop everything. Anyway, go into your, it says types to search, probably on your computer next to the Windows here, and it'll bring up command prompt. You could also use PowerShell. So bring up either one of those, command prompt or PowerShell. Okay? Lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. Get your IP address. So IP config. And it'll give you your local address. And so don't disregard all these other ones, the VMware ones. You want the actual Ethernet, no VMware crap listed IP4 address. So this is what you want. And command line's weird. You drag over and you right click and it should copy it. So gonna go ahead and put that in here. Paste. And then you have your little local IP address. And yours should be something somewhat similar. Since we're doing a Windows server right now, eventually you might be able to get away with 127.0.0.1, which is always your computer. But when we get into doing Linux, you're going to have to do ifconfig and Linux. Anyway, we're getting off track. Stick to doing Windows for the moment. Okay, so let's see here. I'm checking if he had anything else checked in his stuff. That's all I'm seeing right now. So let's move on. Once we make a GameLift object, we want to, oh, there was another thing I wanted to check. Did he call the parent like he normally does? Yeah, he did. So he makes a call to the parent function. Okay. We talked about earlier. I suspected that was there because he's been doing it the whole time. And then we're going to promote this to a variable and say mark GameLift object ref. Okay, there you go. Now you have a reference to your GameLift object, which is really important. So let's take our GameLift object ref and let's use it. Get it? Okay. So now this is holding this reference here. So what we want to do at first, we want to search for game sessions. Search game sessions. You can kind of keep track of like what's a client, what's a server. It's saying client right here. So this would be like you just sign on. Okay, and we're going to make search game sessions request. So just search game sessions request, make. Okay. And what it's going to pull off of here is going to be your fleet name. So we can just go ahead, let's promote this to a variable. And how he worded it, I don't want anything to get confusing, so we're just going to keep everything the same. So fleet, and he put spaces. I can't stand spaces, but that's okay. Alias name, and that'll make a lot more sense when you're actually making stuff on GameLift, that variable name, and that's very important. And I'm trying to think of what he called it. He might have left it blank. Like before you have a fleet, you're going to have to make that. So what we'll do, this would be actually how we would have it when we go to do the actual server. When we're just doing the test server, we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to have to make this. So this would be, you would put in here what your fleet name would be. So let's just drag this off for right now. We're eventually going to do it like this, but that, like I said, that's not for testing. I'll just drag it down here. We're going to have to make our fleet, like actually make a fake number that's going to be our fleet. So to do that, since we don't actually have a fleet yet, which is a GameLift term, we're going to use a random UUID. Okay, and we're going to break that. Okay, and it's going to spit out this string here. And actually, we want it to go, how did he do it? To text. So it's going from string to text, which is a different format. String is an array of characters. Text is not. And then we want to make it all lowercase. So we're going to go text to lower, because I think it just spits out uppercase. And then we're going to use that one we just talked about, append. Okay. And now you're going to see how this will work here in just a second. You'll get to see the fleet format. So it's FLEET dash that fake number that we just made. Now, so to keep things separate from our actual fleet that we're going to put in here and the pretend one we're making, we're going to call them something different. So I'm going to promote this to a variable. And when he did the tutorial, I think I had trouble seeing the screen, to be honest. It was like fleet arm. I think that's what he said. I don't know. But that's what we're going to call it. It doesn't really matter because the data we're making for this variable is made up. I think it's based off of like, I don't know, time or something. I don't know. No, I don't want to speculate too much. Okay, so we've made this fake fleet. What now? We're going to get our GameLift object, and then we're going to describe game sessions. Describe game sessions. Okay, and it's one that just says that. All right. And then off of this, we are going to drag off of here, type in, I think make will just work. Yep. Make describe game sessions request. Okay. Oh. And in here, we are going to put that fleet arm variable. Don't get it confused with the one we just made for the actual. Let's go ahead and get that. And we're going to put it in the AWS resource name. So you see how we're kind of making this fake fleet so we can test. Limit 0. That all looks good. Okay. So then after here, we want to know if what all this garbage did was correct or not. So we're going to do a branch. We're going to run it off of here. And once again, print string. Okay. We want to know our error message. Okay, and then we want to, so if it's false, we're going to leave it alone. After we describe our game session, if that's all good, we're going to run off of here and say, we need our GameLift session, the GameLift object, I'm sorry. Get that, and create game session. Yep, create game session. I'm just making sure it wasn't create player session. Create game session. Okay, and that's great. See, I like that. There's a whole bunch of text under there explaining exactly what this is. So we create our game session, and then off of this is going to be make create game session request. So we'll just drag this down here. Make create game session request. Hit this drop down. All right, and we should be able to make array. All right, so do this and then get rid of this pin. Removed array element pin. Okay, and then we want to get our fleet arm variable, plug it into here. Okay, so we're making our fake fleet arm. It's going into here, and it's describing it. Then it comes up to here, and then it creates the game session with that fake fleet arm, and then we have our array here. And I don't think he even bothered putting anything in the array, probably just to avoid an error. I'm not sure. Okay, so create game session, and he does another branch. Okay, and then of course the print string. And then we need to, off of here, break this result. So it's our game session. We want to break game session result. So all that information we were putting into the game session is going to come out over here, and we want to break it so we get all the details. And then you use this drop down. Okay, and you could see already how this would be very useful once we get into a real game, all that information. So let's get our GameLift object ref. Let's save this. It's just been a minute. And let's drag off of here and say create player session. Create player session 1. So if all is well, we come over here, create our player session, and off of this game session ID, drag off of here, make create player session request. Why are there two? Make create player session request. I do not like the fact there are two. And there is a difference. We'll probably find out the hard way. Anyway, get a random UUID. Break it. And shove it down into the player ID. Okay. And then that should create our player session request. They're starting to become light at the tunnel. Light at the end of the tunnel, I should say. Let's do another branch. Okay. If there's failure, we want to know about it. And then, Okay, create player session. We already did that. Create a player session. We're going to drag off of here. Break it. And then break that. So it's about... Okay, so I know I've been kind of just repeating what I'm writing down. But you get it. So there's player sessions and there's player sessions and game sessions. And the game session is where everybody comes to play. So like eventually it's going to be, if there's no game sessions on, you're wanting to play. Oh, cool, another subscriber. If there's no servers up and running, and you're wanting to play, you will start a game session, and you will also start a player session, and then people can join you later. That's the cool thing. Like if there's nobody playing, the servers wind down. But if there's already servers up and running, then you'll just you'll search for game sessions, you'll find a game session, and then you'll join it and create a player session. Make more sense when we actually do it. Right now we're just making all this stuff to test, which is still very important. Okay, so anyway, let's get our IP address off of here and say append. Add a little plus, do a little colon, and port is going to come out of here, go right into there. Okay, and then we want to print the string. You know what? This was something I added because I was having troubles. And I wanted to know, what the heck was it? So IP was it sending it to? I think that was when I was trying to do a Linux thing. And then we want to open level. So, okay. Bam. Just like that. Okay, that was a lot of crap. Okay. So, let's just kind of take a gander here. You can kind of double check your work and see where you're at. No guarantees at this point, so you might want to just wait. I'll probably end up stopping the camera and coming back and figuring out what I missed. But that's so far. Save all. So then at this point, I guess we can try and make a server, see how it goes. And then we can compare it with, let's do that. Let's just do that. So if you want to go to window, you'll find all these really cool things I didn't even know about. Developer tools, click device manager, you'll bring up this. Click Windows, developer tools, and where is it? Is it device profiles? No. Oh, come on, man. Project launcher right there, right in front of my freaking face. Okay. This will probably be all you need. Device manager would be if we were adding a device. You'll see your computer right here. This is actually looking for devices connected to your computer. If we were doing Linux, we could add it on here. But since we're just doing Windows right now, go to your project launcher and go over into here and say Windows Server. And you'll see, oh no, I can't do anything. That's fine. Click on Advanced. And you're like, how was I supposed to know that? Yeah, I know. And do it by the book. Okay? And we're going to try and compile and see what the hell happens. Okay, so it compiled, and I had a little allow access prompt from Windows pop up. Just go ahead and click OK or allow access so everything works right. You'll get some things Win64 does not implement deploy. That's okay. Most important thing here is that it says that it builds successful. So make sure you're good there. Scroll back through. Make sure you don't have any like weird warnings or anything like that. And then that looks good, but who knows if it's actually working. The way we need to test that is to go ahead and bring up that local GameLiftLocal that we were talking about. So let me get the folder without hopefully crashing everything and bring it over here. So if you remember on our first GameLift episode, we downloaded this GameLift folder from the actual AWS site, and it had two folders, GameLiftLocal and SDK. You want the GameLiftLocal folder, just go ahead and open that and open up a command prompt. So remember, I'm going to have to go off screen to do it, but it's the little bar down here, just CMD, Charles Mary David. Type that in there, and a command prompt icon will pop up, and you'll have your command prompt. You can always just look this up. I mean, this is like common stuff. I'm sure you guys all know how to do it, but if you don't feel weird, just Google it. How do I bring up my command prompt? And then it'll come up. So the first thing you need to do is get to the drive where your GameLiftLocal is. Most people is going to be on C. I have mine all the way over on F. So I need to change over to my F directory. So that you just F:. Okay, and if you notice, the C turns to an F, and so we are on the F drive, and we are going to change our directory. And all command prompt is, if you don't use it all the time, it's Windows Explorer. It's this damn thing right here. Only it's the non-visual version. That's all it is. It's the non-user friendly version. But you can execute programs for it, just like you can in Windows Explorer. So anyway, we're going to do a code called change directory, CD, Charles David, lowercase here, feel better, change directory, and we are going to make it this location right here. So all you do is click in your Windows Explorer and just right click and copy, okay, and then come over here, left click so you're in the right scope, and then right click, well, try it again, and it didn't do it. Let's try it again. Control C this time. Over here. Oh, it's making a liar out of me. Why won't you work? Sometimes command prompt can be an asshole. So I can't believe that's just not going to let me copy and paste in there. So when command prompt fails you, there's a cool thing called PowerShell. Once again, just type into your little thing like this. Type in PowerShell. Most all Windows have these by now. Get into your F directory. And then see if I can paste in here. It's not liking it. Try it again. Third time's the charm. Copy. I'm not going to put anything in there this time. Okay, and it pasted. Let's see if that was the problem this whole time. Nope, command prompt just doesn't want to paste. I don't know what it is. So when you paste in PowerShell or command prompt, supposedly you just right click and it'll dump right in there. So anyway, we're in PowerShell, which is just like command prompt, only slightly more user friendly. As you can see, you'll run into weird situations like this. I'm sure there's out there somebody who uses command prompt like crazy who's laughing at me right now. Yeah, I suck at command prompt. So anyway, put a CD in front of there so it actually changes your directory to this location, and press enter. Okay, and now I know it looks like the same thing, but it's actually saying, okay, you are now here, and you can see what's in this folder by typing David Ida Robert dir, and it will show you in here you have a file called GameLiftLocal.jar, and you will see that right here, GameLiftLocal.jar. So to run that, you're going to do it from here. You're going to type in Java, not Jaka, java.jar, and I think it's just game, capital lift, local.jar. Has to be exact. I'm press enter. Okay. And now it appears that it has started. Okay. So then I'm going to just slide this out of the screen. We need to minimize this. Get out of here, crappy command prompt. And then minimize this. Or, my bad. Let's bring that back. This will be easy to go to your... Damn it. Go to... Where's the level? There we go. Go to your content and show and explore. Just an easy way to get to where your project actually is at. Go up these directories, travel up so this is your actual folder right here. Double click on here and go into your saved, and then you go staged builds, and here's your Windows server that you built. Okay, so click on your Windows server, go to tutorial 1 or your file name, binaries, Win64, and then there's your server. So with this, we're going to click it, and we are going to create a shortcut. Okay, and then we're going to click on a shortcut, and I can't remember, I think it's properties. Yep. And then you're going to scroll all the way over, -log, click apply, and OK. And for the moment that I've been fearing, the big test. So we bring this over here, and we do our tutorial shortcut. And look at that, I just saw it. I saw freaking healthy come up over here. Holy crap. I'm just making sure everything is good. That's a very good sign right here. So this should come up every so often saying, hey, your connection is good. You got a healthy. Let's see. Okay, I read through my logs. I was expecting to see some more details that I might be thinking it might be only with the Linux version I was seeing, but I'm not sure. Either way, we're getting a healthy response, which is a good sign. So let's go ahead and try to make a client and see if that'll fire up. So we're going to leave this running. So we have our well, server's in black. PowerShell is the GameLiftLocal. So I'm gonna and it's still reporting healthy. So we'll see how true that is. Bring that over. And so to build a client, we're going to do it a little differently than we've done. We're going to do it the same way we just did, though, as far as the project launcher. Where'd that go? Where did it go? Got our device manager, project launcher. Okay, so our server's done here, so we can click done. Okay, change the Windows Server to default, not client, just do default. You can either do by the book, or I think you can do on the fly on this one, and that might be quicker, not sure. And click launch, and we'll see what happens here. Now, if I remember correctly, I think you might be able to run this from Pi, which is like your normal little testing thing. Actually, as long as you run it as a standalone program. I think that's how that works. So we'll see. We're all just learning, right? So we'll let that go through. It might try to automatically launch. Sometimes that's successful and sometimes it's not. Sometimes you got to stop it and go back into it and open it up. Open up and it'll act like your client, and you can see if it connects. And if it connects, then you're good. If not, it doesn't necessarily mean it's totally failed. I know with Linux it has trouble. It won't open up. But with Linux, there's many more steps. So we're trying Windows right now, and figure we can get the easy stuff done first, then we can move on to the difficult stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and let this build, and then we'll see what happens next. Okay, I'm in the middle of a cook right now. Go ahead and allow access. It's been running about 15, 16 minutes. It says maximum players are on the session or whatever. So we're going to go ahead and exit out and restart. If you look over, where the hell did my mouse go? Oh, here, just hit the tilde key, type quit. Okay. Okay. I was getting a whole bunch of healthy responses, but then that popped up. So I'm going to go ahead and quit. Sometimes getting this thing. Okay, it says build successful. You're seeing this right here, real time. But sometimes it doesn't want to connect to this. So I'm going to go ahead and restart everything. So getting this thing to quit can be a son of a... it's the GameLiftLocal. Sometimes it doesn't really quit. Like it's there running in the background sometimes. So I'm going to just try and exit out of here and hope for the best. And then with my server, I'm going to shut it down as well. Okay. I'm going to save all and just exit out of here. Okay. Let me bring back, let's go into our PowerShell and get our GameLiftLocal going, if I can find that folder again. Right here. Okay. There's PowerShell. Go ahead and get it into the F directory. Okay. Change directory. Let's see if it lets us do this nice and easy. The easy way. Okay, it did that time for some reason. Okay, and then we're going to do Java -jar GameLiftLocal, what is it, .jar. Okay, we'll see if that starts up. It looks like it's hard telling. Okay, and then we'll go to our games location, our server shortcut. We'll run it. Okay, it's saying it's healthy there. Okay. And then we'll go into, this is where our server was. Go into your stage build. You'll have a Windows No Editor that's going to be acting as your client. Go into tutorial 1, binaries, Win64, and then this one you can just double click and hope for the best. Maximum player session count is required. So it makes me wonder if we didn't put a maximum player session count. So I'm going to pause it and we're going to see what went wrong. Okay, so you notice we had the error that said maximum. It flashed up there really quick. We should have made our print screens go for a longer time. It said maximum player count is required. So I thought, okay, well, we just didn't set something right. So I went into the level blueprint. So open, and we're in our entry map. Open your level blueprint, and I'll take you through where it's at. So we start here, event begin play. We make all this stuff. Come through, and then right down here it says maximum player session count. Let's just go ahead and put that as 50. See how that works for us. And I'm just comparing it with this other one. Yeah. Maximum player session count 50. And since I don't think the server is going to be running any of this, I might be able to get away with just rebuilding the client and then having it connect that way. So I wonder if our stuff is still playing, and I'm going to just even try and launch it from here and see if this works under standalone game. I haven't tried it yet. I really haven't, so I have no idea if that'll connect through. Okay, and there we are. We're in the level. Success. Oh, finally. Okay, so you can see where things could easily go south if you don't set it up just right. But you should officially go ahead and quit this. Tilde the key, quit. And I have fixed this already. If you ever get this, this is just because the weapon is still spawned and it's looking for it. It's no big deal. I'll show you how to fix that. But what you should do here is go back to your, I always get these two confused, project launcher, and we already have it set to our default, which is our client. And it's going to try and overwrite, and I don't know if it will overwrite our old one. So what I like to do is go to your content, show and explorer, go to saved, stage builds, and Windows servers or server. Obviously Windows no editor isn't really doing us any good because it doesn't have that variable set, so we're just going to take that to the garbage, and then this should be able to build just fine. So go to, where were we? Project launcher, here it is, and we're just going to go ahead and launch that puppy, and then this should just open just fine. So once when we were talking about it, I'm sorry, I had some pizza bites while I was waiting. Anyway, while we were making that, I kept saying, you know, these error codes are important. You know, that's going to help us know, you know, what's going on, why isn't it working, and so it proved to be a very good help as to, you know, why aren't we able to get anything to pop up. So we're going to try it like this, see if we get any more errors. But it should connect, especially that was a good sign that our you notice I did it from the standalone and it launched just fine. So we'll see what happens. Oh, I closed my server, so obviously nothing's going to pop up and connect immediately. So we'll just let it keep building though. No available process, that's fine. We don't have anything up. So all I'll do is quit out of there. And unable to read full network error, that's fine. We'll just let it keep going. Okay. And if you scroll down, build successful. Okay, so we're good. So we're done here for right now. Minimize this. Okay. So we have our server, but first, let's go ahead, let's close our PowerShell. Let's get our java.jar, let's open that up with another PowerShell. Go to our F directory, change directory to this, copy it right up there. I should still have it in my paste buffer. There it is. I think, no, that is not. So copy it out of here, paste it right here, and then you should be in the right directory. And java-jar GameLiftLocal.jar, GameLiftLocal.jar. Okay, it starts up GameLiftLocal. Then we go over here and we're going to fire up our server. Tutorial 1, binaries 164, server shortcut. It goes. Okay, you can see in the corner down here, it says health status. Oh God, of course it would. Healthy. Okay, our server's going. So let's minimize our server. This is the same file I used to access my server. Let's see if I have it in here too. Okay, and then we'll go to our client, Windows no editor, tutorial 1, binaries 164, and cross your fingers. No available process. Okay. Wonder what's happening there. That could be the GameLiftLocal acting up. Like I said, it may.
Okay, so I stopped the camera and I went through and I tested everything, and everything's fine. I went all the way through and uploaded it to GameLift and tested, and everything worked just fine. Sometimes GameLiftLocal is a little flaky, so use it to test your server files and test your, I guess use Pi, because that worked actually. When you do the standalone from here, I guess that's technically not Pi standalone. But when we did the whole process where we made the client and everything, for whatever reason it didn't want to connect, but it's fine. So that being said, that's all that's going to be here for this episode. One thing that's very important, though, if you haven't been following along in the tutorials up until this point, your map structure is going to be different. And the other tutorials that I'm going to link here show you how to set up your maps properly. Basically, in earlier videos, we set up all of our maps so that when you come in, the clients are all coming into the entry map and your server goes to the test map. And since we're building blueprints based off of which map you're on, that's going to change some things. So just a heads up there as far as what is different if you're just purely trying to set up GameLift. And just check out those other videos when he gets to the map section, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So anyway, that's it for now, and I will see you guys on the next one.